We're so grateful that you've joined us this morning, and I want to give thanks for the Parents Circle, which is an organization of families from Palestine and Israel who have lost loved ones who are coming together to have conversations, to begin a process of understanding and reconciliation and hopefully peace. So we have two remarkable men with us here today. Yuval is Israeli, and we have Mohammed, who is from Gaza and
No, he's from
Palestine.
Yeah.
Okay. Uzbek.
West Bank.
West Bank, okay. And we are blessed to have them here with us today. I've talked to them and they agree that it's okay to say a prayer honoring all of our traditions. Is that all right with you to begin? All right, let us pray together. Almighty God, you have made all of us. You have created us as Jews, as Muslims, as Christians, and many other faiths. And we know you would have your children learn to understand one another and to honor one another. For in all three of our faith traditions, you speak to us of peace. So we thank you today for Yuval and Mohammed and for their courage, their wisdom, and their willingness to open their hearts to each other. Open our hearts as we listen to their conversation today, and may you help us find a way towards peace. Amen.
Amen.
So I'd like to begin by just finding out a little bit about your lives and your childhoods, where you grew up. So Yuval, you said that you lived on a kibbutz. Were you born there? Tell us about your childhood.
Actually, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to listen to us. I was actually born in Tel Aviv as the third child to my mother, Shoshana, and my father, Abraham, who both came to Israel even before the state of Israel was established. My father as a child, and also my mother, and they met here in Israel, and they got married. They were looking for where to live. Yes, at some point they lived in a kibbutz.
They did.
But when I was born, they lived in Tel Aviv. Later they moved to a kibbutz, and then after it didn't work out for them, they went to live in Hod HaSharon, which is the countryside a little bit north of Tel Aviv. At those times, it was before the Six-Day War, so Israel was much smaller in space.
Yes.
And where we lived was pretty much close to the eastern border with the West Bank that was then controlled by Jordan, by the Kingdom of Jordan.
And growing up close to the West Bank, what was that like for you as a child? Were you aware of the dynamic there?
I think everybody in Israel is always aware of the dynamics. And I think at those years, the state of Israel was still young. Do you hear me well? Because we were told...
Can you hear him okay? Okay.
Not so good? Should I speak louder?
Louder.
Okay, sorry. I'm talking about the 60s. At that time, the state of Israel was still a young state, and really at a state of constant threat by its neighboring countries, which were all Arabs, that did not acknowledge the existence of the state of Israel. And so we will learn as children that we want to live there in peace, and that the Arabs don't want us there, okay? So we were in a constant anxiety, I think.
How old were you when you first felt the anxiety of people around you who didn't want you there? How old were you when you remember recognizing that fact?
Well, it was complicated because we had a strawberry farm at those days. And my mother and father were, managing the farm. But when the picking season started, every year we had workers coming to pick the strawberries, and most of them were Arabs from the neighboring villages. And there was no tension at all. But in the summer of '67, there was a tension starting to build around the borders. And that was really the time where we started digging shelters, because we thought it's going to be war soon with Egypt, with Syria, with Jordan. I, as a kid, didn't know why, of course. But
So you began to build shelters, and
Yes.
that was one of the reasons you knew something was wrong. And when the strawberry pickers came, you could sense there was tension with them, right?
yes, I think that those.
Can you hear him okay now? Yes, okay. If you're having trouble hearing, and Megan, do you know where the assisted listening devices are? Would you be willing to get some? If you need an assisted listening device, just raise your hand and Megan will get one for you. And okay, you can put your hands down. She sees you. And we'll get those. Thanks, Megan. Okay.
So I will speak slowly.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe it's going to help. My father was called, he was 41 at the time. He was called for the reserve units because the tension was high in June. In May '67, all the men practically were called to their units. Around the borders, there was a lot of tension.
How old were you when your father was called into service?
I was 8 years old,
8. Okay.
yes.
Yes.
And my mother was pregnant with my, I hoped it would be a brother because I had already 2 older sisters.
Oh, you were praying for a brother. Yes. Gotcha.
It was too much. Yeah, and then at June, the war started. I was at school in the morning, and then we heard the bombers flying over our heads and bombing some areas, not specifically the school where I was, but all of the kids. We were trained at that time in school to run to shelters exactly if there were sirens or anything like that, in an ordinary fashion. To each class knew where it should run. But that morning it was like a total run for shelter with no order because it was so frightening.
It's very easy to be afraid when you're a child and you experience that kind of fear and pressure.
Well, it was the first time for me to sense any kind of danger because I was living in a quiet, safe countryside. I enjoyed my childhood in rather safe and happy environment.
Mohammed, tell us about where you grew up and what your childhood was like.
Good morning. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, thank you. I grew up and still living in Jenin for the last 35 years.
Speak louder.
Yeah. I was born in a small Palestinian family. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters.
Wow, there are
Yeah.
9 of you?
Yes,
And where are you in the lineup? Where are you?
in the middle.
In the middle?
Yeah.
Wow. No wonder you make peace.
Yeah, I am in the middle, so yeah. I make peace between the older guys and the young
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. So it was the second Intifada, 1988, the first Intifada, sorry, Palestinian uprising
1988, the first Intifada, yes.
the Palestinian uprising, yes.
Uprising.
So yeah, I was born in July.
And you were born right then, at around that time?
It was like 9 months. It
Wow.
was in 1987.
Okay.
So yes, at 3 months old, there was a tear gas thrown from soldiers to our house, and it was all over. And my mother tried to take everyone out from the house, and I was in a baby. So one of our neighbors came and took me to the hospital, and my mother told me this story. She was looking for me and she didn't find me because, a lot of gas, and, inside the house it's more, difficult, because I witnessed it when I was adult also. If it's inside the house, it's more dangerous. You can't see, you can't open your eyes, and you can't breathe. So one of the neighbors came and took me to the hospital and spent in unit 3 days. They suction all the gases from my lung. So I lived with my brothers and sisters. My father was working in Haifa back then, which is 40 minutes drive from Jenin. He worked in Israeli factory in Haifa. So was it like he was a working man, and my mother just raising us, all of us.
Mohammed, so early on you had this gas as a baby, but it didn't affect, you're okay now, yes? You seem okay.
No, Ruby said, Ruby Damlin, she was with me, and she's our Israeli spokeswoman in the parent circle, and she told me you are hypochondriac. Yes.
Like what?
Yeah. So I was, till I studied nursing and I knew what's happening to me, because we don't have this health or psychological care, nothing about mental health and anything. I've been having an asthma attacks, and I figured out that it's not, it's not medical issue. It's like about the stress and.
So you still, when you're under stress, will
Yes.
find it hard to breathe.
Yes.
Okay.
So I always have a gum with me. So when I
Yes.
take a gum, it's
A gum?
it's a habit.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Yeah.
And growing up, your father, you said, traveled 40 minutes to work and back, and your mother was home.
Yeah.
And what was your childhood like? Was it, were there periods of peace, or was it always scary?
Yeah. I wasn't scared when I was 3 months. No. I didn't know. No. When Oslo agreements happened between Israeli and Palestinian Authority, I was exactly 6, so I didn't, live the happenings of Intifada. I maybe picture some, military jeeps and stuff like this when I was 4 and 5, but not emotionally living it, the fear. And so it was a game for me, people running and shooting and stuff like this. So when it's Oslo, so it was only Palestinians
Yes.
authority, so nothing happened till 2000.
Nothing happened then until 2000,
Yes,
from when you were
like-
6. You had a period of relative quiet. And
Yes.
it's okay. The microphone's okay, yeah? You can leave it, it's good.
Yeah,
Good.
thank
yeah.
you.
Okay. So then, you both have lost loved ones in this conflict. Would you talk a little bit about what happened to you, Yuval?
Well, As I told you, I remember the day in school. I don't remember all days, but I especially remember this day when the war started. And well, I think we were sent home, and we knew that there's a war. And after 6 days, it was over. It was a great victory for Israel. Everybody was really surprised that we were able to win over all those Arab countries, to conquer the West Bank, including Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, the Old City, the Wall, the Golan Heights, and the Sinai Desert. So Israel was in a state of euphoria, right? And my father was, we knew he was still in the army. He did not send any sign. There were no phones at the time. So we went back to school, and we started to go back to normal, but father was still missing. And one day when I came back from school, I saw a car parked near our house, and at those times there were not so many cars, so it was really unusual. And for some reason they didn't let me go home. They told me go to the neighbors, and I didn't know why. I refused, and I went back home, and I saw my mother was fainting, and there was some soldiers and doctor, and I didn't understand what's going on. Nobody told me, nobody explained, and the house was starting to fill up with all our relatives and friends and family, and all my uncles came. I didn't know what's going on, and everybody was crying. And it was only later in that evening that one of my aunts took me aside and said, father was killed in the war. And my mother was looking for him all those days. She went to all the hospitals and all the camps, and she was trying to get some information, but nothing. Nobody was able to give her anything because there was so much confusion at the time, until they just came. So yeah, that was the day, I think, where my childhood was over.
Yes.
I was 8 years old. I had 2 sisters. My mother was pregnant. A month later, she gave birth to my 3rd sister.
Oh, so you were the only man all of a sudden.
Yes.
At 8.
Yes.
Too young.
And she was not able to handle the farm, so she had to move. She sent me to a kibbutz. She thought I would get better care and education there. So the family more or less disintegrated. That's one of the things that I'm really sorry about, because I would expect families in these times to get together, but my mother was not able to do it. So I was sent for a few years to a kibbutz as to study there and to live there. And I was really sad and angry, and I thought, the Arabs killed my father. I really hated them for that, and I decided that when I grew up I would become a soldier, a pilot maybe. I would kill back. I would take revenge of those Arabs. Israel was really celebrating its power now, the military power, because the army really gave us a little bit of security. The borders were not so close to our home now. So going to the army was considered at that time really something of honor.
Yes. Yes.
So I decided when I became 14, I decided to go to a military academy. And I spent 4 years there, and then 6 years in the military, in the army. I was not engaged in any battle, any combat activity. I was in the intelligence forces, so I didn't kill anybody. But I think growing up without a father is one of the most things that influenced my life. I think until today, that you have to take care of yourself. You have no true guidance that you can rely on. And as I said, I was sent to a kibbutz, so also my family disintegrated, so I was pretty much on my own
Yes, you were.
since the age of 8.
Thank you for sharing that. And how about you? Tell us how you lost some loved ones.
Yeah, I lost my brother in 2002. I was 14 years old and he was 16. After the second Intifada in 2000, Palestinian uprising, they closed the borders, so my father would no longer work in Haifa. So he decided to have a farm in Jenin, planting tomato, and the whole family was helping him with that. So whenever we have to pick up tomato,
You
the
worked
whole
on the
family
farm,
goes, and it was a beautiful things to do back then because there was a lot tanks coming and shooting. So going to the farm is, go far from what's happening. And in many days I spent, the nights there. In the farm we have a small room next to the farm, so because it was dangerous to go back
travel.
and
Yes.
So in this afternoon, October 24th, my whole family were in the farm. Back then it was because they entered the whole West Bank in 2002 in April. Many of schools demolished or partially destructed. So we have a shortage in schools. So they decided to do school shifts in the morning and in the evening. So the same school will be used for 2 schools. So we have these shifts, and my whole family that are not in school now, they went to the farm. And I came with my little brother, Yusuf, to home. It's like 12 p.m. you will be at home. So I was 14 and he was 12. And my brother Ahmed has to go to the training in the afternoon, and the school blocks and the training ground is in the same block.
I see. So there's
it's
the school here and the training ground is right
and
together.
it's too many schools, maybe 10 schools and
Okay.
everything. And the neighborhood is so close, the closest neighborhood. And the tanks enter the city to announce curfew. They have this habit to go back every 2-3 days to enter the city. The Israeli tanks. And I was home with my brother, and me and my little brother were happy because no school tomorrow,
Yeah.
because they entered and we were alone at home.
You were alone
Yeah.
and no school. Oh,
Yeah, so
good.
we were very happy, and we heard the shooting and we were excited. And then when the tanks, came in front of our house, and it's a big tank,
Yes.
It's like this size from here to here.
Oh, wow, that
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
Wow.
it's Makava Shalosh, he knows.
Big tank.
Yeah, it's very big. So it's like all the doors and windows were shivering, and I was looking at the tank, the big tank. We were happy. Yeah, and it's 3-4 tanks come from our street, and these tanks went from our street to the school's block, and they start to shoot because there is a lot of people in the streets.
And they
And
wanted them inside for curfew, but they started shooting, yes?
they start to shoot in the air and in the ground to announce curfew, because, they entered the city, and some people don't know because you hear the tanks around the city all the time.
All the time.
So you don't know that they're entering. And so they do that always to shoot, to announce curfew. So the school kids will run to their house, and also, everyone is working, the teachers and the shops will close, and it's like everyone flee, just close and ride the car and run. So when that chaos happened, they start to shoot in the ground. A lot of school kids were there, and my brother got shot in his neck with a tank bullet. Yeah, it's a rebound bullet from. So when he got shot, the tank approached his body and start to do circle around his body. It's a big street. Yeah, and
Why did they circle his body?
to prevent anyone from helping him.
Oh, to prevent anyone from helping.
Yeah. So 10 school kids got injured from fragments because they shot around his body to prevent anyone from approaching, and 10 school kids and 2 Associated Press journalists. And I know that because 2 years or 3 years ago, I went to the archive of the Associated Press, and I saw a video from the hospital when the press came injured with the fragments,
I see.
and also
So
the
he's
school
saying
kids.
that journalists and students were hurt because they tried to come near the body of your brother.
Yeah.
And they were not allowed, so they got wounded. Yeah.
Yes, first the school kids tried, then the journalists came to the incidents, and they are Palestinian journalists working with Associated Press with their press uniforms. They tried to help him,
I see.
and they shot in the ground, and the fragments.
The fragments from the
it's
ground
big.
wounded them.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank
And
you.
did you see your brother's body, or did you never see? Was it only,
This is the thing. We heard the shooting.
You hear the
and-
shooting?
Yeah, and I was home with my brother,
Yes.
and people start to gather around our house.
Yes.
And me and him were alone, and we didn't know anything. Just a lot of people coming.
A lot of people coming, similar to a lot of people coming into the house. Something
Yeah.
is happening.
And there's tanks, and it's dangerous, but people keep coming,
Yeah.
and no one home, and no one saying to us anything, And when my family came, my father and mother and my brothers and sisters, when they came with the car, and my mother saw the people gathering, she fainted and started to cry, and she knew that something happened.
Something had happened.
Yes,
Thank you, Mohammed.
thank you.
So you lived through these tragedies, and then tell me about what happened to you, Yosef, that you wanted to have revenge and you wanted to be in the military. And what happened to bring your heart to a different place?
It took me many years. After I finished my service, I got married. I had, my life took a direction of, children, family, career. I was not too occupied with my thoughts of revenge or peace or anything like that. I was like busy with my life, carrying, like the normal survival race
Yes.
that any 20 to 40 man had to take upon himself. And only I think when I got to my 50s, when my kids started to go to the army, because it's mandatory in Israel. And because Israelis are not really exposed to the situation on the West Bank. Normally, we have managed to create for ourselves pretty safe and isolated life. And we have all those politics about the conflict, about the war. And of course, there were conflicts, there were wars that continued after the Six-Day War. There was the Yom Kippur War in '73, and there was other wars, and with Lebanon, and it's always something going on. But you just focus on what you can do and on your life, and you believe that our leaders are really taking care of, trying to change that. And really, Prime Minister Rabin managed to make peace with Jordan, and before that, Begin made a peace with Egypt. So we believe that it's going to eventually end this
Yes.
conflict, because it's taking a good direction. But then Rabin was assassinated, and the whole country took a completely different direction. The whole state of Israel was becoming more and more right-wing and violent against the Palestinians, and no solution was in sight. And then again, my kids started to go, and most of the kids that go to the army, they go to different units and training, but eventually all of them go to serve on the West Bank on missions that are more or less like civil control over the Palestinians, like controlling Palestinian life, checkpoints, searches on nights and stuff like that. So my older kid, he went to a really, really secret and special unit with 1 year training. I didn't know what he was doing, but it was definitely something that will save Israel if there is any war that will eventually come. But then when he finished his training, he was posted in the West Bank. And then I started to hear those stories of what's taking place on checkpoints.
So that was the first time you really became aware of what was going on the streets in the West Bank from your son.
Right. You can, if you are really curious and you want to find out, you can. Nobody is hiding that from you. But normally you would not be aware of that.
Yes.
You
And
would escape that.
And we human beings, we don't want to know.
Right.
We want to stay comfortable.
They do the dirty work
Yes.
so we can keep our normal life.
Yes.
But when it touches you personally or your family, and I understood that this kid is now doing things that I don't think he was comfortable with, I was not comfortable with. It was not at all what I perceived as defending our country and just controlling the traffic of kids and adults from one village to another. Will that save Israel? Will that contribute to a better future? No, it will create more hate.
Yes.
And he will have to bear that for the rest of his life. At that point, I decided I'm going to look for something to do as a citizen. I mean, I'm not holding any, I had my company and my career. I do not have any influence on the politics, no leverage on what's taking place. I vote every 4 years, but it doesn't seem to have any difference. But yet, I think people have some kind of power to change things. And I started to look around. What can I do as a normal citizen to contribute to ending this conflict, to peace? Because at that time, I understood no revenge will do me any good. I was already 50. I gave up all those dreams, all those thoughts. I understood that people continue to get killed because of this conflict, and no killing is ever going to find comfort, to bring comfort to anybody, because it just keeps the cycle of violence
The
rolling.
cycle of violence would only continue. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Yuval. How about you, Mohammed? What happened to make you think that you could make things change, or that there was another way?
Yeah, I was 14 when I lost my brother. So it's more about understanding what's happened, you know. And the first day I saw them all cry. I don't know why, because
You saw what?
all of them crying.
All of your family crying?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was thinking he's going to heaven, so why they're crying? So in the next morning when I wake up, and I found out that we are one less. So
You found out that you are one less. Your
Yes.
family was one less. Yeah, that was very
yeah,
sad.
it's a big family, yes, but you know. And since the next morning, I realized that, and still now, no one talking about my brother Ahmed in the house, you know.
Why do
It's-
they not talk about him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No one's talk about it, and I think this is, and I understand that working with the Bear Circle in 2019, when there is a gathering for the members, that every Palestinian mother do that.
Oh, so you learned from the parents' circle from listening to other
Yes,
mothers
because-
that many of them don't speak of the children that they've lost. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
because they will be afraid that the other brothers will act out. And you know, acting out is not like here, you know.
Yes.
When you like throw a stone, you will be killed.
Yes.
When
So-
you do something, you will be killed.
So they don't want their other children to get angry and do something that might get them killed.
Yes.
So they don't talk about the one who died.
because they are afraid to lose more.
They're afraid to lose another child. Yes, I
Yes,
understand.
and I understand that from Layla Sheikh. She was in the meeting and she told me that, you know, that she lost her baby, and she, it was
3
her,
months old.
yeah,
He
and
was
it-
3 months old.
yes,
baby.
and it was her first baby,
Oh,
and the kids, she has now kids in university, and she didn't tell
She
them
didn't tell
about
them. Ah.
that she lost
I see.
one before them. And after that meeting, when I said this, she told me, I didn't know that it's difficult
Yeah.
to not talk about. And next day she told them about her
About
child.
the baby. She told her other children
Yes.
finally. Good.
So the thing that you should process this and work with this alone. Everyone should deal with the loss alone, and you know, mentally it's and psychologically it's difficult. And you know, like me, also in the grieving cycle, when you process the grief, there is, when you heal, there's something before forgiveness about justice.
Yes, when
Yes.
you heal, before there's justice that must come next. You feel that you need justice.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And
Yeah.
it's in the grieving cycle that
That's part of grieving, to want
you
justice.
deny first, then you
Yes,
yes. So in order to pass that, you should have some justice.
I see.
And
In order to move past the grief, you have to have some justice, some recognition of the wrong that happened. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
And something wrong happened, and no one
Yes.
talks about it in the house, and no one talks about it in, no one went to jail because of killing my brother. No
Yes.
one
No
will
one.
knows who killed my brother. So I stuck in this cycle, and when,
You were stuck in the cycle of grief. Yes.
yes, I still.
You're still.
Yeah, but it was hard for me back then to know that, okay, they are killing and no one, telling them that you are wrong,
Yes.
And if the Palestinian tell them that you are wrong, they will shoot him.
Right.
So no one acting out, no one saying something, you can't do anything. So I was, in my head, have imagination to think that I will get this guy. And
You will get this guy.
yes,
Yes.
that no one knows.
That no one knows. Right.
Yes. And I was, Liam Neeson in Taken. It was 2008, yeah, but
He's very cool.
yes, but I was 2002.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they stole my idea.
They stole your idea for Liam
Yes,
Neeson.
I will
Gotcha.
hunt you and kill you.
Hunt you,
So,
yeah.
so yes, was my imagination. I should sue them, yes?
You should sue and complain.
Yeah, but to
Liam Neeson is really you. Yes.
yes, to copyright, but no, he didn't know that I was thinking
Yes.
like this. It was in my head that I will find him and hunt him and kill him, and this was in my imagination. I will know him. I was too stupid to know that. Should I go to ask the army who the one
Yes.
that killed
How could you ever know?
Yes,
Right.
I will never know, but it's in my head. So I thought about revenge, yes, and I thought about, I thought more because I studied nursing 4 years later.
You studied nursing.
Yes,
And that makes sense, Mohammed. You couldn't help your brother, but you
Yes.
could learn to do the things that would have helped him.
yes,
So
and
you studied
also
nursing.
help others.
Also help others, yes.
Yeah, so I studied nursing, and I was thinking that I should do something bigger. Like not revenge my brother, maybe revenge them all, and maybe
Revenge them all, yes.
ending the occupation.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's a lot for one person.
Yeah, I know. So and this is all in my head.
Of course.
Okay, so I was thinking to do something bigger that, okay, we can do uprising. We did uprising twice.
Right.
It didn't work. So I was thinking all approaches to do things. And a lot of frustrations happened because 2 years later I lost a cousin. Another year I lost another cousin. And through my whole life I lost neighbors and friends.
So people are always being killed around you.
Yes,
Yes.
a lot of people.
A lot of
And I stuck with this grieving cycle
And
because,
then the grieving cycle begins again. Yes.
and also my brother name is Ahmad.
Ahmad.
And every Ahmad killed, it remember us all with our Ahmad. And this is, a curse of the name because many Muslims and Arab have the name Ahmad. And when someone killed with the same name,
It would trigger the grief again to hear
Yeah.
someone else named Ahmad who was
yes.
killed.
And,
Yes.
I am not, I remember that I cried in 2002 and maybe cried another time. I don't remember, but the third time I cried, I remembered. I was in Milano in restorative justice 2 years ago
2
to
years
talk
ago.
about restorative justice.
Yes.
And it was my first day in Milano.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before our meeting, I got the news that my friend, and his name was Ahmed, killed.
Right.
And I saw the video.
Oh,
The
you
sniper
saw the
shot
video
him. Yeah.
of him being shot. Oh,
So it's give me memories.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So yes, I cried the third time in Milano, and it was, the hardest thing.
Of course.
The hardest one was that because I felt so far and hopeless and helpless
Helpless.
also.
But yet you had gone to a restorative justice meeting.
Yes,
Why?
because I studied like psychology and psychiatrist in nursing school,
Ah,
so I know something about this. I know something how it helps people. And, I volunteer. I work at Palestinian Ministry of Health. And I
he
also,
works at the Palestinian Ministry of Health. Yes.
yes,
Okay, that's good.
as a quality manager.
Quality manager.
Yes, I left nursing to do quality manager, and it's all about planning.
Planning, yeah.
Yes, and in the last 3 years, I plan to have stabilization point because the army attacks hospitals.
I see.
So I do a lot of community work with volunteers. So I wanted to know approaches to help people.
So you began to think about psychology and stabilizing communities, and that made you realize that revenge is not working. Is that
Yeah,
right?
but this is all after the parent circle.
All after the parent circle.
Yes.
So was it the parent circle then that got you thinking differently, would you say?
One of the things, but
Okay.
before that, I used to see the Israelis in their military jeeps and tanks. I didn't saw civilian, because 2000, the
You
second
never saw
uprising.
Israeli
Yes,
civilians, right?
I didn't want to, because they killed my brother. They don't give us permissions to Israel,
Oh, yeah.
because they're afraid that we'll take revenge on something. So
So you were not allowed outside. You couldn't go into Israel for
yes,
any reason.
or Jordan.
Or Jordan. Okay.
So stick in the West Bank. So I didn't meet Israelis.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I came back home, and my mother, she works with community, and she was hosting in our house a meeting with the Burn Circle. They got Ruby Damlin, the same Ruby Damlin, and
The one who lost her baby, yes?
No, Robbie
No.
Damlin is an Israeli woman
Oh,
who
it's-
lost her son who was a soldier.
Okay.
another Israeli woman and the Palestinians, and they were doing like this dialogue meeting, talking
And you
about
were
their
able to
loss.
see them as people, as human beings?
Not yet. I said hi, I entered my room.
Ah,
Yeah, but after that, I asked my mother when they left, there's Israeli in our house, what they are doing.
oh, so your mother brought them to the house?
Yes,
Oh. She brought members of the parent circle to your home, your
Yeah.
mother. Wow.
yeah, she hosted like 3-4 meetings in
She
Jenin.
hosted meetings. And that was when you saw your mother gave you the example of talking to them as people.
Yes, but it still was a process, not before
But that
talking to
didn't
them.
get you to do it yet. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was a time.
It was a
Like,
process.
she invited me to a meeting, the story that
Yeah.
she forced me.
Yes, she forced you.
Yeah.
Mothers are good at that.
Yeah, yeah. She told me that they're doing this and this, the Bear Circle. They're doing dialogue meetings. They talk about their loss. They have different programs, the parallel narrative, Palestinian and Israelis talking about their loss. They have youth programs, and you should go. And I said yes, the kind of yes that I said to my mother to let me go.
So she will
Yeah.
not be mean.
So
Yes.
1 week later, I got a call from the Bear Circle. You have a meeting tomorrow.
Ah.
And I was angry. I called my mother. Why you did this? She told me you said yes. Yeah. So next morning, she woke me up forcefully. The taxi is waiting for you. You should go. So yes, I was.
Wow.
It's-
She even got you in the car. Yes.
Yeah, she woke me up. Yes.
Yes. Good for her.
Yes.
But it was still a process, wasn't it, Mohammed? You go
Yeah.
to the parent circle, and that was only the beginning for you.
Yeah, it was when I met, it was a circle, and there's Palestinian and Israelis. The first thing I noticed, that I didn't know who is the Israelis and who is the Palestinian.
Oh,
And there was a red-haired woman, girl, that was sitting. I thought, she's from Tel Aviv. And she was from Ramallah.
you thought she was Israeli, but she was Palestinian.
Yes. And Yuval was the facilitator of the group.
Oh, that was the first time you met Mohammed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they start to introduce themselves, and I know then that this is Palestinian, this Israelis, and one of them said that my name is this and this, and I served in the army in West Bank in 2002 to 2005. So it's the same time my brother got killed.
Oh, wow.
So I was angry, I
Yes.
was shivering, flushed face, sweating, and I left the circle.
You left the circle?
Yeah, went to the restroom. I was angry. The Palestinian facilitator came after me and tell me why you left.
Yeah.
It's not respectful to leave like this. I told him I can't stay in the same room with this guy. I can't bear staying in the same room with a soldier that served in occupied territories, that maybe killed people. And he told me, you know, it's obligatory to go to the army. You know that before you are coming. Why you came? I told him, yes, I know that, but I didn't think that it will feel like this, to be in the same place with this guy. So I was curious. I'm a curious guy. This is the 10% that took me to Beit Jala to the meeting. Yes, not totally forced by my mother. So I was curious to know the other side, you know, to know what they think about
What
us,
are they
why
thinking?
they are killing us.
Why are they killing? Yes.
Yeah, so I was curious,
You were curious.
but not that curious to stay in the same place with, you know, a soldier.
Right.
Yeah, so I decided to leave, and I told him to ask for a taxi for me because it's 3 hours drive.
3 hours. Wow.
No, it's nothing here. I know that, but it's back then it's
A
3
lot. A lot.
hours. You
3
know.
hours a lot. Yeah.
Yes, it's like going to an airplane. Yeah. So I decided to leave, and the Palestinian facilitator told me, okay, so can you join the next activity? Then you leave. You know, we have next activity, then dinner, take dinner, next activity, leave.
Yeah.
And this is the time that the taxi will take to come because
Yes.
it's from
Taxi has
Jenin.
to come from.
Yeah, it's so I said, okay, nothing will harm me. I can handle this. So in the next meeting, it's a well-organized program that it's open you to the other person with the activities. They share more about their self, their values, what they believe. And I found out in the next activity that he's against occupation and he's a pro-peace and he against what he saw in the West Bank and what the soldier did. And this was my breakthrough that changed my perspective, and I saw the humanity in the other side.
You saw the humanity in the other side. Wow. Wow, Mohammed, thank you. You're both so remarkable, and you have been able to cross over a gap that many human beings cannot cross, from revenge into seeking reconciliation. Yuval, can you talk to me about what is forgiveness for you? What is that crossing over? How does that happen, and what is that about?
I think for me, forgiveness is much less of a spiritual thing. It's more like taking responsibility. And it may sound absurd. Well, why? How can you take responsibility over something that was done to you, right?
Yes.
But I understood that by blaming something, blaming someone, you give them an access to your life. You give them a continuous access to control your life, to consume you with anger and with blame and with thoughts of revenge. And it's only when you take responsibility on your life and you release them from the guilt, that you can go on with your life and look at the future take full responsibility of whatever is taking place in your life, and not trying. I told you before, I was growing up on my own pretty much, and that's a painful thing.
Yes.
To not have anybody else beside you on the important moments of your life, and you have all the right to hate for that.
Yes.
To blame, but then it doesn't let you continue with your life, because
Yes, you're in bondage in a sense. You're
Yes.
enslaved by that.
So by taking responsibility of my life, and not just my life, also the life of my kids
Yeah.
and my friends and my family and my wife, and I decided to let go and to start working for the future. And this is how I came across this organization, and I totally understood that this is exactly what I was looking for. A place where I can meet the other. And I admit, until the age of 50, I did not meet Palestinians. I did not know nothing about their lives, about their experience, about what they're going through. And it's hard for Israeli to, when you listen to Palestinians, and you listen for the first time for stories that coming from Palestinians, and your first reaction may be rejection. This is not true. This is impossible. We do not do things like that. We were only trying to defend ourselves. We are survivors of the Holocaust. That's our state. We defend it. It's all your fault. You were not accepting us. So, you can go into this blame game. But I think curiosity is an important point here.
Curiosity. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Because if you open enough to listen to stories, and you put your mind, you put your back voices aside, all you learned about the history, about the narratives of your story you took in schools, you put that aside and you open up to listen. It takes a lot of courage, because it attacks your identity directly. So this is why many Israelis, and I think many Palestinians as well, do not want to engage into these encounters, because they are so challenging. Because immediately when you encounter the other side, they will see you as the responsible. And you do not want to take responsibility over things that took place in the past, and not even by you. But you have to do that. You have to go through that. You have to go through this listening and acknowledging that this is his life. This is what he went through.
In the Christian tradition, we call that repentance, and you all have the same notion in Judaism of acknowledging your sin, right? Acknowledging the wrongs of the past, of being willing to listen. Is that correct?
I'm not so religious, and I don't know so much about the Jewish religion either. I only know that when it comes to our life, it is so that we have so many conflicts in Israel, between ourselves, between Jews and Arabs, between the religious and the non-religious, between the Israelis and the Palestinians. So we need to find our way in all those conflicts. And my way was to listen and to see, well, the humanity on the other side. I don't have to accept everything. I must accept the fact that this is his life, and he has the full right to hold to his beliefs and to live in dignity. And we also. I think I want to end the occupation. I know that Palestinians want to end the occupation and they want to live freely. But I think we should end the occupation not just for the sake of the Palestinians, for the sake of our children.
Yes.
Because we were taught about, when we, on Passover, we learned how we were slaves in Egypt, and we were saved and released and liberated, right? So how come we can now put our army to control the lives of others? Of course, I do not consider them as slaves, but they are not free.
They are not free, right.
And we do that with our hands.
Yes.
So I think that for our sake, for our future, for our moral existence, we need to let go. We need to sit with the Palestinians. And I'm not just talking about all the bloodshed and all the violence and thousands that lost their lives. My father, his brother, many more thousands in Gaza, in Israel. People are being killed while we speak right now.
Yes, they are. Yes.
And it has to stop.
Yeah.
And it has to stop not just as a ceasefire. It has to stop completely. It has to stop. And the only way it can be stopped is where, it goes back to politics, where the leaders sit down and not just think about their immediate personal future, but about their nations and about the next generations. And you need to give up some land. You need to give us some privileges in order for the other to live in a dignified way, in freedom, in independence, in prosperity. And we have enough space, enough resources for everybody. It's not going to be on the account of no one. All of us are going to win. There's no such thing as one nation will win over the other. No, it's never going to happen.
And Yuval, that's a very profound point and so true, that hopefully we will one day get to a place when we see that all of humankind living together, sharing in community, will benefit everyone, that there is no winner or loser. As long as we think that way, no one will win.
Everybody lose.
Everybody lose.
Everybody lose. I know that Israeli ministers and prime minister, they say, we will not stop until we win. There is no such thing. We lose. We lose every day. We lose by losing our people. We lose by causing the other to die.
Right.
That's a loss. When you kill one, when you kill somebody else, you lose.
Yes.
You're not winning by killing your enemy.
Mohammed, I think it's wonderful. We have more of a secular Jew, not totally, but not so institutional religion, very spiritual. And you are fasting for Ramadan, so you are a practitioner of your faith, I could say. Yes. Okay. Tell us the same question I would like to ask of you. So why were you able to cross over into wanting to find reconciliation? What is that journey? You talked a little bit about going through grief.
Yeah.
What was it about you? You mentioned curiosity. Can you tell us more about how you were able to, stay in the parent circle when you left and went to the bathroom? I guess it was just a little step, but you were willing to try.
Yes, it's like the thinking of, nothing will hurt me to stay.
Nothing would hurt you
Yeah,
to stay.
and knowing that it's only talking. So, and it was my first time to truly listen, like to have the willingness to listen, because it's easier for people to ignore, like if you are in the radio and someone is talking or preaching, okay, change.
Right.
Yes, it's easier to change, not to, to listen to this guy, what he's talking about.
We do that a lot. Here in America, we watch our news channel, which we agree with, and we never turn on the other one, right?
Yes.
Yep. But you're saying it's hard to listen to the people that offend you, but
Yes.
you thought you could do it.
Yes, I thought I can do that and nothing will hurt me, and I can talk. I can
You can
speak
talk, yes.
about what's happening to me. And this was one of the startup of me, because I wasn't this, I'm not good with, being with the new people. Or I don't know. So
You're getting better.
yeah,
Yes.
thank you. So knowing all these people, weird people, redhead, tall, short,
Weird
you know.
people,
Yeah,
yeah.
for me, it's not from our community, you know. I live for my whole life in the same city, you know, and it's 100,000 people. It's not too big. And because of the occupation, you can't move, you know, to countries, and it's better not to move to other cities because there's checkpoints. You maybe got shot, maybe, you know, inspection and humiliation. So for me, I was in Jenin and Jenin governance, you know, to the nature, and this my life was. And for me, yes, they're weird people. They're not from my community.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
different from you.
Yeah, so I felt like this. So uh, first of all, I didn't, okay, I was listening, just listening. I didn't want to talk.
Yeah.
You know, it took me 2 years in meetings and going with the parent circle to talk about my brother.
Oh, it took you 2 years to talk about your brother.
Yeah.
So
And
time was
with the
important
parent
too.
circle, it's the only time I talk about my brother.
And you only talk in the parent circle. I
Yes.
understand. Okay. Wow. So time was important too. Time was
Yes.
important.
Time is important. And about the reconciliation and forgiveness, it's for me like, I said it to Christopher, it's like I didn't see faces, you know, it's like the Star Wars, I said to him. It's like these troops with white outfit.
Oh, yes, the
you know.
stormtroopers.
Yes,
You saw them,
stormtroopers, yeah.
Israelis looked like stormtroopers, no face, no
No
person.
face, yes,
Wow.
because it's military outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are my enemies. So when you need to forgive, you want faces, you know,
Yes.
you want to forgive someone.
The beginning of reconciliation is seeing the human person
Yeah.
like we're doing right now. Yes.
Yeah, but forgiveness is something harder.
Forgiveness is different than reconciliation.
Yes, it's in a different level.
Reconciliation here, forgiveness
Yeah.
a longer way.
It's
Yeah.
a longer way, and people, like I was in restorative justice, people from North Ireland, people from Italy, Bologna bombings, you know, right-wing fascist, and Netherlands, Germany, a lot of places with conflicts, and they all talking about forgiveness, about restorative justice, and they're meeting, you know, they're meeting each other. The one that did this meet the one that did this. You know, the actual persons.
Actual people. Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and it's European Council of Restorative Justice. It's very powerful, but I was a hard case for them because I told them, you know, even, you know, I forget the name of the Nazi, the survivor from the Holocaust. What her name? That she forgave the German. She's very famous. What her name?
Corrie ten Boom, but she was a Christian.
In Jewish?
No,
No,
Jewish.
he's thinking of a Jewish woman.
Jewish, yes.
There were many
Yeah, yeah,
incredible...
but she's famous. She's living here and she died.
Oh.
Yeah, she was living in US. There's a book.
don't know who's
yeah, I will remember when in Google.
When you're on the airplane, you'll
Yes,
remember.
yes, the name. So she forgave the German for what they did. They killed her sister. She was 13 years old, I think. Nah.
She's dead, so she
She's-
couldn't be.
Yeah, so even she forgave the doctor that did experiments on her.
Oh, did her experiments on her
Yes,
sister.
yes. Even this woman, you know, she forgave a whole nation, but she has a faith, you know, to forgive, you know, a person. You know,
person,
maybe you will
yes.
see someone. But the thing for me, I will never know the person.
Yes.
And it will be the whole army, you know, and to do forgiveness for, you know,
For a whole
it's-
army, that's very hard.
and the other thing that to go to forgiveness, you should end the grief cycle. You should process it all to go to forgiveness, to take justice. To be in restorative justice, you will have justice. And for me, I will never have justice. And this is what I'm thinking about, that maybe some of the justice that I will have is that no more killing, because every killing happened in my neighborhood, it will bring the grieving
Brings up the
cycle
grief again.
to the first.
Yes. So in a sense, what you're saying, Mohammed, is until justice is achieved and the violence ends, it will be impossible for you to forgive. You can reconcile and work towards reconciliation, but your personal forgiveness won't be complete until the killing stops.
It's like if you're a rape victim and you saw in the neighborhood that someone that raped you is walking, you know. And this
Yes.
is what I see when I always see the Israeli soldiers, that they're walking freely, you know,
Yes.
and no one judge them, no one have justice on them. And everyone, every time there is rape, you know, you will feel it again.
Yes.
And this is what happening to me. Every time there is killing, especially like I have a new Facebook account, aged 2 years, and I lost 10 of my Facebook friends. You know, like they're real friends, but they're on my Facebook that are dead now.
They're dead.
And this is bring me the
Brings
whole
it again. Yes.
justice thing again and again.
And yet, in the midst of all that mess and pain and grief, you're here with us.
Yes. And every time. Yes, Ivakor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ivakor, yes.
All right, we have touched, I want to thank you both for your courage, for your vulnerability. You give us, you take us with you into the heart of this matter, and I'm so grateful. We need a world filled with you guys.
Thank you.
But and you're helping us to become more like you. So I want to open up the floor for questions. We have about 15 minutes until we will finish, and these guys have to go to the airport. So if you have questions, would you raise your hand up high, and Christopher will bring the microphone. We have here in the first row, and then back down this way, Christopher. And there we go.
Wait, who had?
Here.
Which one was first? I'm gonna go first.
Hi. First, I want to thank you so much for speaking to us. Full disclosure, I'm Israeli, though I've lived here many, many, many years. But of course, I've been following events since October 7th on a daily basis. And I would really like to hear from each of you, from your own perspective, how has October 7th and the subsequent events affected you and possibly a group like the Parent Circle, if it has?
Yes, I will go with there's maybe we can talk now, but there is a big article about the Parent Circle and the work after October 7th about me and my colleague Tamar. We do the summer camp for Palestinian and Israeli kids, 25, 50 kids from each side. So we do this summer camp annually for Palestinian and Israeli kids, and we have summer camp continuation program which meet monthly. And we will answer now, but also there is a New York Times article about what's happened after October 7th with the peace activists and their work during this, and it will be more holistic, and it's honest, and it tells exactly what's happened to us during these hard times. But about now, we decided to in the Parent Circle to work uninationally to repair and to heal in each side. You know, we have more than 700 families, bereaved families, and we should keep this community, not to let them fall apart. So we decided to work uninationally. So I worked in the last 5 months with the Palestinian group, the kids from the summer camp to let them heal. And I said a sentence, and it's in New York Times, that you can't ask a patient in emergency room that broke his arm about his feeling, because all what he's feeling is pain, and you can't put two people in pain and meet together. So we worked uninationally, every nation, Palestinian alone and Israelis alone, to let them heal and process what is happening, because it's still ongoing.
That's a wonderful analogy, Mohammed. So the pain has to end first, and then
Yes.
the reconciliation can begin.
Yes.
That's a beautiful concept, and I love the camp. So remember that Parents Circle is a nonprofit that can use our donations and our support, and they've gotten more active and more international, you said, after
Yes.
this October 7th.
It's more international in media.
In media?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's
Because the world
there's
is
a
more
lot of
interested.
polarization
Yes.
in US. Even the World Bank invited us, me and Ruby Damlin, invited the Parent Circle because they have a big problem between the Arab community and the Israeli community, the Jewish community inside the World Bank. The World Bank in DC inviting us to solve their problem. So
Wow.
there's a lot of polarization happening.
But you are becoming an instrument of peace. You are. Yes, that's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. How about you, Yuval?
I woke up on the morning of October 7th at 6 a.m. with the sirens that went off in Tel Aviv to warn us from the missiles that were fired, and to run to the shelters. And that continued from that day for months. The rockets were fired not just on Tel Aviv, but everywhere else. And during that day and the day that followed, we just started to get the news about what's taking place on the south of Israel. And it was so shocking. And it was such a big sadness that covered me for weeks that I was not able to speak, because there was so many movie videos and the TV was filled with people who spoke about the situation, about the war, about what we're going to do to them, and then all those faces of people that got killed in that day came from the screens all over. If you open your Facebook, you would just see smiling faces of people who got killed. And I was so shocked. And I had to manage at the same time the operation of the organization. I knew we have a team. I'm managing the Israeli side, and I have a partner, Nadine, who manages the Palestinian side. And together, we have a team of about 20 people that works closely over the many years to run all our programs. One of them is the children program that Mohammed is responsible of, but we have many other educational, community, media, and public programs. And we understood that we need to make sure it's all continues in those horrible times. But we knew immediately that when attacks like this happen, and of course it's unprecedented, and this is why we knew that the revenge, the retaliation from the Israeli side is going to be unprecedented, and Palestinians know that. Immediately on Saturday, they understood that hell is going to open on them. And so Nadine and me decided immediately that we're going to do whatever we can, at least to keep our team together, to keep our joint Israeli and Palestinian team, continue to work, continue to interact, continue to engage, and discuss what we need to do, although we are all hurt personally by the events, although we are all taking sides now. Because after all, I'm an Israeli, they are Palestinians, they see their family hurt, we see our family and friends, and it brings you back to your origins, it brings you back to your basic identity, and we had to bring this conflict into our mutual conversations, to our team meetings, and it was extremely hard. but we invested a lot in just keeping that rolling, keeping that going. We knew we could not meet physically, personally, because the borders were closed and they're still closed. So we can still, I mean, after 5 months, it's the first time I see Muhammad here, because on where we are, we cannot meet. He cannot cross to Israel, I cannot cross to Palestine. And it succeeded because we had really, really difficult conversations among us, but we listened to each other. And with all the pain and with all the anger, there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of depression. We could hardly breathe on those days. I decided to cut myself completely from all the media channels, because I knew that every media channel has its agenda and I don't need this information. I have these people, my people, and this is my world right now. Maintaining those members and those team members, we have like all those hundreds of bereaved family members that are now hurt again because this trauma brings back all those memories, and we have to take care of them. And so we do, and we keep distributing our message of peace in the Israeli and Palestinian societies through the media channels that are still open, and internationally. We immediately, the days after the war started, we decided that our slogan would be holding on to humanity, because that's the basic that we need to make sure we keep, even in those dark days. And we're still going on with a lot of messages from our members online to bring it to everybody else, to know that even in the war times, we do not cease to call for a ceasefire, for ending of the violence, and for sitting together to end this conflict, to bring back all the people home, and to end this conflict once and for all. This may be the call for all of us, to understand that 100 years of conflict is enough. We need to put an end to it.
We have time for one more. We have people live streaming, so if you can use the microphone. We need the technology. Thank you.
Yes, is this working?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you all for being here. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everybody here. You have touched something very deep and inside of each of us, and ignited, if I can say, a better understanding and appreciation, not only of how you all are dealing with pain and anger and revenge in your geopolitical situation, but it touches us on a human level, because I think on some level we all have this inside of us too. So I thank you for that. I think about what you're doing. You said 700 families. That's a lot, but it's very small too, to have the impact that we're looking to have. And my question is, are you working with other groups? Are there other groups similar to yours that you can work together to build an impact and hopefully deliver your message to the Israeli government, to Hamas, to whomever? That's my question.
There are many more organizations that work towards peace and reconciliation in Israel and in Palestine, more than 100. Not all of them are known because the media does not cover all that activity. The media covers the conflict. It hardly covers the attempts to end the conflict. It's not that sexy for TV audience to film friends sitting in a room just talking, right? It's much more, the attention span of people is so short, so they focus on what's wrong and what's violent. But still, we have many groups that are working. We, unfortunately, at these times, the Israeli government that we have right now is not supporting us, it's against us. It tries to prevent our activity. It's actually banned us from going to schools because they say we act against the principles of education. Now imagine that, right?
Yeah.
We preach for peace, and they say we risk the children. So that's the atmosphere we're living in. In Israel, it's not just the government, it's many of the people that were led to believe that we must all be engaged in the conflict and in fighting the other side and not in trying to make peace with them. I don't know how it came about. It's probably because this 25 years of right-wing government that keep preaching for separation instead of dialogue, right? We are actually in the process of suing the Ministry of Education for that because they have no grounds, no legal grounds on preventing our message to go to students. They did it for political reasons. Mm-hmm. And this is what dominates. And so this oppression coming from the authorities on peace movements that really try to change the reality and the future of our nations is outrageous. And this is maybe something that you can help with your American, with your representatives.
Yes, Yuval, tell us what we can do.
I don't know what level of leverage you have over your representatives in Congress and Parliament, but anything that you can do. We always say we don't wish, I'm an Israeli. I want Americans to support Israel. It's nature, it's natural. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it has to go against Palestinians. And vice versa, if you support Palestine, that doesn't mean automatically you need to be against Israel, because it doesn't, as I said before, nobody's going to win. Everybody is losing. And if you want to support one on account of the other, everybody's going to lose. And I know America is trying to bring Israel to sit with the Palestinians to end this conflict, and Israel refuses. I know that. And I'm sorry for that, really. I know that the Palestinians are under so much pressure from the extremists, and in Israel also there are extremists. So this is really confusing. But the solution is simple. The solution is that the Israeli government, I hope there will be a new one soon, and that the Palestinian government, that there's going to be a new one soon, will be able to sit together with international support
And talk.
and talk and not get up off the table, not leave the table, even if it takes months or years. You should not give up on trying to have peace.
Thank you. Do you have a last word for us, Mohammed? I know we are
I'm dying.
closing. Huh?
What?
No, you're not dying. No, our time is almost up.
No, sorry.
Oh, you have lived under so much.
Yeah, okay. So, what through my whole life, and especially in this, like the last 3 years, it was a hell in Jenin, and we don't have Hamas in Jenin. It's not our government. We have Palestinian Authority. I work at Palestinian Authority, Minister of Health. So through these years, it was very hard, the losses that personally, that Jenin, my city, were attacked for years, street bulldozed, and it was very hard to live. And one of the things that keep me going, not only helping people in Minister of Health and volunteer, but also the kids from the summer camp. And they give me hope every time, yes. And
So we could help fund the summer camp?
yes,
Okay.
yes, and also we have a good fund for the summer camp, yes, but also helping in every activity, not financially, also talking about what we are doing and how, you know, when we change a kid in the summer camp, when we alleviate the fear, and he come back from the summer camp with Israeli friends, with Palestinian friends, and it's changed him forever.
Forever.
You know, it's something that never happened in anywhere, that people during a conflict meeting each other. And I think I always say that the most powerful program is the kids, the summer camp, because they are the future. But also, I noticed during this conflict that also the women programs, we have a program for women,
For women.
that it's also very powerful because women have more tendency to peace.
Women have more tendency to peace. Yuval, you noticed there were a lot of women here, and,
Yes.
and I asked you about that, and you said you thought the same, right? That the women have a tendency to peace, and your mother was the one that got
Yeah.
you in the taxi, so. Thank you both. God bless you. Thank you all for coming. We do have candles. If you'd like to say a prayer and pray for peace, you can light a candle and put it in the sand. And Yuval and Mohammed will be available to talk with people for a little bit,
Yeah.
but then they have to go to the airport. But let
Thank
us
you.
give them our thanks and gratitude today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to meet you.